Welcome back to the channel. The first episode of the World Cup recap went fairly well, so we're in now to the day 2 recap, so let's get straight into it. So the opening game of day 2 was Canada against Bosnia and Herzegovina. That finished 1-1. The draw was probably the fairest result, in all fairness. Bosnia's goal probably came against the run of play. Canada was probably the better team for the opening exchanges of the game, but couldn't really capitalise on it, and then it really looked like a training corner routine which put Bosnia ahead. The kind of flick on it, the near post, but realistically the corner wasn't defended very well by Canada, but they would have been kicking themselves, to be fair, to be going down 1-0, especially with the kind of possession that they had beforehand and the chances even that they had before it. But they had a great chance as well then to go 2-0 up Bosnia, but Demirovic couldn't take his chance either when he went one-on-one with the keeper, so he'd probably be kicking himself as well in his own regards. But overall, it was the fairest result, I think, for the game was definitely a draw. Canada played some excellent football, a lot of intricate 1-2 passing in tight areas, and they actually made a lot of space for themselves in tight areas where you wouldn't really expect any space for opportunities to arise, but they did that brilliantly, and that's kind of how Larin's equaliser came kind of late enough in the game. He obviously then had another chance very late on to win the game, but it was a brilliant block from the Bosnian defenders to put the chance, to keep the chance at bay, I suppose. Overall, I was definitely impressed more with probably Canada. I think, as I said, going forward, they utilised their wide areas very well. Bosnia, if Bosnia won the game, I think it would have been a bit of a smash and grab, in fairness, but they defended well. Glasinac as well made a brilliant clearance off the line, where I think it might have been 1-0 at the time to Bosnia. And an equaliser earlier for Canada might have set them up to maybe go on and win the game with a bit more time in their hands. But I would say if Bosnia did hold out, it probably would have been a bit of a smash and grab. But I think overall, for the way that they defended and maybe the chances that Canada probably should have put away, the 1-1 draw was definitely the fairest result in the first game on Friday. Then the second game, which was obviously a 2 a.m. kickoff on Friday night, Saturday morning, was USA against Paraguay. That one finished 4-1 to the US. Paraguay were offering very little threat going forward, in fairness, but I think the way that the US came out and played, I think it was probably very surprising to see them come out of the traps the way they have. Home tournament, fair enough. But I think I definitely wasn't expecting that out of them. I know a lot of people, I suppose, in the kind of the United States media have been kind of talking a lot about them heading into the tournament and what players that they have and the threat that they have going forward. But I definitely wasn't expecting a 4-1 win, and it was probably the most convincing performance so far in the opening 2 days. You could talk about Mexico and South Africa, of course. South Africa and that one weren't great. Mexico were by far the better team, but I think Mexico at times kind of when they could have pushed on, especially when South Africa went down to 10 men and then to 9 men, I think Mexico could have pushed on in a way, but they never did. I think they kind of decided to relax themselves, and just they knew that they were going to win, so they just wanted to see out the game, which is professional as well. But I think USA showed a bit of relentlessness, and they were very good going forward, and it was a joy to watch, to be fair. It was the joint biggest US win at a World Cup ever, and it was the first time that the United States scored 4 goals at a World Cup in a single game, which was massive for them as well. That joint biggest win was a 3-0 win against Paraguay, funnily enough, in the first ever World Cup in 1930 in Uruguay, so history repeating itself there in that one. Folarin Balogun was obviously on the score sheet twice for the US last night. He was actually a player that came through Arsenal's ranks for many years. He's currently at Monaco now and doing very well in the Liga. He was the first United States player to score at least 2 goals in a game as well since that 1930s World Cup, which has even more of a history element to the game from last night. Gio Reyna's goal, of course, he came on as a second half substitute. The trivela effort was absolutely precise and effortless, and was, I'd say, the standout goal of the tournament so far. And I think with the likes of Australia and Turkey to still come for the US in that group, there's definitely a massive possibility that the US could do a clean sweep in this group. I wasn't totally expecting... I was expecting them to beat Paraguay, but I wasn't expecting them to do it in the fashion that they did. And I fully expect them to possibly do the same against Australia. Turkey might be a bit of a harder one. I suppose the European teams are always kind of, I suppose, better sides, really. Looking from the outset, I suppose, watching European football a lot with Ireland, you kind of just see them a small bit more. So I do expect them to be a bit harder for the US, but there's definitely a possibility that the United States could do a clean sweep in that group. We've 4 games coming up from Saturday night going into Sunday morning. So 2 at between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock on Saturday evening, this evening. And then I think it's 2 and 5 a.m. then for the other 2 that are going into Sunday morning. So the 4 games that we'll be looking in at the World Cup recap episode 3 are going to be Qatar, Switzerland, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, Scotland, and Australia, Turkey. So some very good ones to look forward to there. Brazil, Morocco, I think will be a very good game. I think Neymar's been ruled out for that, but he's expected to be in full training for their second group game. It's going to be interesting to see Scotland as well in the World Cup, see how they get on against Haiti. I've seen a couple of players playing with Haiti that I didn't actually know were from Haiti, so they might bow at a small bit more of a challenge than I expected for Scotland, but I still do expect them to actually win the game. Between Qatar and Switzerland and Australia, Turkey, you're not unbelievably you wouldn't be unbelievably prone to watching the games, but I think Brazil, Morocco and Haiti, Scotland are going to be 2 games that people are going to want to stay up for. I think the Brazil, Morocco game's at 11 o'clock and Haiti and Scotland is on at 2 a.m. as far as I know. So I think when you're going into maybe a Sunday, you could maybe try and tell yourself to stay up for a bit longer on a Saturday night going into Sunday morning for them games. But yeah, that's the recap of day 2 at the World Cup. A draw between Bosnia and Canada, and then a very, very impressive win for the United States of America against Paraguay. So until the World Cup Day 3 recap, thanks very much for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe to the channel, that would be very much appreciated. And as I said, until the Day 3 recap, I'll talk to you later.